Okay, let's dive right into this. If you've ever held a solid piece of gold in your hand, even for just a split second, you probably felt something a little different. It's wild, but it actually feels ancient, almost alive. Gold doesn't just shine like other metals. It practically glows, as if it's carrying stories from thousands of years before we were even born. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unpack an obsession that spans literally all of human history. I mean, from the ancient Egyptians, to the Greeks, to the Inca, totally disconnected civilizations across the world all stopped and stared at that exact same golden light. And they didn't just look at it, they shaped it into crowns, rings, and amulets. Not just to look magnificent, but to say something fundamental about who they were. So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to deconstruct gold's value layer by layer. We'll be looking at 1. The mystery of gold. 2. The perfect chemical compromise. 3. The invention of money. 4. The ultimate safe haven. 5. Measuring and using gold. And finally, 6. A universal symbol. Let's get to it. Section 1. The mystery of gold and its supernatural allure.
Now you might be wondering, long before gold was a financial investment, it was a symbol of beauty and absolute permanence. So the really crucial point we need to ask is this: why did humanity choose gold over everything else? Think about it. Out of all the exotic, bizarre elements buried deep beneath the Earth's crust, why did we decide that this specific metal was going to be our ultimate backup plan? Even today, in a world absolutely surrounded by digital money and virtual assets, gold still somehow pulls our attention. For so many people, there remains that one small guarantee against a totally unpredictable world. To figure out why, we have to look closely at its physical reality.
Moving right along to Section 2, the perfect chemical compromise impervious to time.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that the core reason gold took off is simply that it doesn't change. Ever. The Roman writer Pliny the Elder totally hit the nail on the head when he called gold the only metal that fire cannot destroy. Just imagine how mind-blowing that must have been for ancient people. They lived in a harsh world where literally everything decayed. Food spoiled quickly, iron tools broke down, wood rotted away into nothing. But if you took a gold ring and buried it in the mud, it could be dug up centuries later, shining almost exactly as it did the day it was hammered out. In terms of chemistry, air just won't damage it and water won't weaken it. That kind of permanence made gold feel almost supernatural, like a literal piece of eternity that you could hold right in the palm of your hand.
And when we compare gold directly to other metals, it becomes super obvious why the alternatives just weren't going to work for ancient wealth. Iron? Sure, it was a huge technological leap, but it rusts away. Silver is incredibly beautiful, but give it enough time and it darkens and tarnishes. And what about platinum? Well, platinum actually melts at over 1700 degrees Celsius. That was completely, hopelessly unmanageable for ancient furnaces. Gold, on the other hand, is the perfect middle ground. It never rusts, it never darkens, and while it melts at a temperature we can actually work with, it never burns or turns black in the fire. Which leads us to this really fantastic observation from a geologist named Charles Frederick Holder back in 1897. He called gold the ideal compromise between abundance and impossibility. And here's a wild fact for you. Gold is actually not the rarest metal on Earth, not even close. Elements like rhodium and platinum are way, way scarcer. But gold sits perfectly at this incredible intersection. It's accessible, it's gorgeous, it's workable, and it's just scarce enough to inspire intense desire. You can take simple tools and hammer it into unbelievably thin sheets, or stretch it out into fine wires. It achieved this just right level of availability that allowed massive empires like ancient China and Rome to actually gather enough of it to support a functional trading system.
Section 3. The invention of money. From ornament to currency.
So, because gold resisted time so flawlessly, people naturally began trusting it with their own time, meaning their hard-earned savings, their vast wealth, and their family legacies. Let's trace how this builds up over time. Rewind to about 600 BCE in a place called Lydia, which is in modern-day Western Turkey. That's where the very first known gold coins were minted. Stamped with a heavy royal seal, they carried a completely revolutionary message. This piece of metal has value specifically because the king guarantees it does. Greek merchants quickly trusted them, Persian rulers copied the idea, and eventually the Roman Empire built an entire massive, sprawling financial system around gold coins like the aureus and the solidus.
Flash forward a few centuries, and this deep trust was formalized on a global scale through the gold standard. Back in 1925, Winston Churchill famously referred to gold as the safeguard of certainty. And you can see his point. Under the gold standard, the paper money floating around a country was literally backed by physical gold locked away in heavy vaults. A paper banknote was essentially just an IOU, a promise that you could redeem it for a specific amount of real gold. Now, whether that system was actually perfect is something economists still argue about today, but it undeniably created an international language of predictable trade, and it stabilized global currencies for well over a century.
Section 4. The ultimate safe haven, a reflex built into human history.
You see, gold didn't just support economies on paper. It deeply reassured people on an emotional level. Whenever the ground starts to shake, from war or a brutal recession or sudden political instability, we humans instinctively reach out for something solid. Just look at the historical patterns. When the banks began failing left and right during the Great Depression in the 1930s, gold remained one of the very few assets people still actually trusted. When global inflation completely spiraled out of control in the late 1970s, gold prices absolutely surged. And then again, after the terrifying collapse of major financial institutions back in 2008, it became a sanctuary once more. Why? Because gold is strictly finite. Absolutely no government, bank, or massive corporation can just flip a switch and print more of it. From New York all the way to Nairobi, it acts as a very real emotional and financial insurance policy when confidence in everything else just starts to fade.
The anthropologist Jack Weatherford put this so beautifully when he wrote that gold became valuable simply because we made a myth real. I love that phrase, because beneath all the hard chemistry and the complicated economics, there lies something much deeper, and that is trust. Gold carries this massive psychological weight because it's essentially just a giant social agreement. It is a collective belief, built on countless generations observing its permanence and then passing that reverence down from one era to the next. When you hold a gold coin, you genuinely feel that sense of continuity with the past.
All right, Section 5, Measuring and Using Gold, Precision and Utility.
So how exactly does this ancient myth actually function in our modern, hyper-calculated world? Well, unlike a lot of standard commodities, gold is judged with a level of precision that is frankly extraordinary. The first concept we need to grasp is the carat, which measures purity. Now, pure, unadulterated gold is 24 carats, but here's the kicker. Pure 24-karat gold is surprisingly soft, so it is actually pretty terrible for making durable everyday jewelry. Instead, it gets alloyed or mixed with other metals to give it strength. So when you look at a piece of 18-karat gold, it just means it contains 18 parts gold and 6 parts of another alloy, which makes it exactly 75% pure gold.
And then we have the weight, 31.1035. That highly specific number is the exact amount of grams in what's known as a troy ounce. And get this measurement system dates all the way back to medieval France, yet it still remains the absolute, unquestioned global standard for bullion trading today.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the modern gold market truly operates behind the scenes. When serious investors buy gold bars, they aren't just buying shiny bricks of metal. They are buying a highly certified piece of trust. They painstakingly verify the weight, they check the exact purity, they identify the precise refinery it originated from, and they record a totally unique serial number. It's these strict, unbending hallmarks that ensure that a gold bar bought on a Tuesday in London can be trusted and sold on a Wednesday in Shanghai without a single hint of doubt.
But hey, gold's story definitely doesn't end sitting in the dark in some bank vault. It has some seriously incredible and sometimes surprising utility. Going as far back as medieval Europe, we have a 16th century cookbook by a chef named Bartolomeo Scappi, describing the use of real gold leaf just to decorate the food of princes. I mean, that is a pure, ultimate declaration of luxury. In the art world, Byzantine halos and massive Buddhist statues use gold to represent divine, higher realms completely untouched by time. And functionally, because it utterly resists corrosion and conducts electricity so flawlessly, gold is absolutely crucial in the smartphones we all carry in our pockets, in complex medical devices, and, my personal favorite, it even formed a thin, protective layer on the visors of the Apollo astronauts to shield their eyes from intense solar radiation. It literally bridges ancient, sacred ceremonies with cutting-edge space exploration.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, a universal symbol, the language of excellence.
When you step back and look beyond the complex economics and the high-tech utility, gold is, at its core, the universal human language for excellence. When an incredible Olympic athlete finally stands on that podium, or a brilliant laureate receives the Nobel Prize, the whole world instantly understands the message being sent. They have reached the absolute highest standard possible. We use it when families pass down heirloom watches to connect generations, and when couples exchange rings to mark lifelong promises. Gold brings all of these powerful elements together: beauty, durability, scarcity, trust, and deep meaning. It really is the ultimate bridge between art and science, and between raw emotion and hard economics. It is a little piece of eternity that we have somehow managed to weave right into our everyday lives. Ultimately, Gold only works because people, across vastly different cultures and across thousands of years, just agreed to believe in it. It reminds us that some things out there truly are timeless. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world full of so much unpredictability and constantly shifting values, what is your goal? What are the bedrock constants that you truly trust in your own life? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.